peaceful night with your loved ones, deep in a forest. Everything seems perfect until you discover a sinister doll in the shadows. What starts as an innocent camping trip quickly turns into a horrifying nightmare at the end of our story. Stay tuned for the chilling tale of the night the doll came to life. I went to spend the night in a private place in the forest with my church family. Upon arrival, we began unloading our things. I decided to take a walk to explore the area. During my walk, I saw a murti, religious statue, lying on the ground, which someone had probably discarded or dropped. I left the statue where it was, not paying it any mind, and continued with my planned activities. Later in the evening, we made a campfire on the premises where we were staying. Everyone sat around the fire, creating a pleasant atmosphere. A short distance behind us was a pile of garbage, clearly where people had burned trash. My eyes happened to fall on that pile, and I noticed a half-burned doll on top of the garbage. The doll looked creepy, but I tried to keep strange thoughts out of my mind, so I distracted myself by playing with the children. However, something kept drawing my attention back to that garbage pile. You know how it feels like someone is watching you from a certain direction? Well, that's how I felt. So I looked at the garbage pile again. Folks, you won't believe it, but my heart almost leaped out of my throat. I saw the doll stand up, as if it were a person. It began to move and walk, looking me straight in the eyes. I shook with fear and screamed as I saw the doll looking directly at me. At first, no one noticed something was wrong with me. But as the doll moved more, I panicked further and screamed louder while looking at it. When the doll started walking towards me, I screamed and pointed in its direction. Everyone looked where I pointed, but the doll had suddenly vanished. No one saw anything, and I trembled all over, feeling both hot and cold simultaneously. But since no one had seen anything, I didn't know what to make of the situation, so I remained silent, not wanting to spoil the mood for the rest of our group. The group didn't let my experience bother them. We continued to enjoy ourselves around the campfire. After several hours, we decided to go inside the house. The house, made of logs, had 2 bedrooms, a bathroom, and a combined living room and kitchen. Everyone quickly fell asleep from exhaustion. I couldn't sleep because I kept thinking about the doll. The place felt unsettling to me, but no one else seemed bothered, so I wrestled with my thoughts alone. Then it began. I suddenly saw the doll again. This time, the doll transformed into an old woman. No one else could see her. She only showed herself to me. Why she did this, I don't know, but it was clear that no one else could see her when I started screaming in fear again. This time, everyone else in the house also screamed as they woke up, feeling like they were being attacked. Chaos ensued as everyone panicked. "Let's get out of the house. Come outside," I said, and we all went outside without any real plan of what to do next. Once outside, my aunt went back inside to get her phone, but she couldn't come out because the doors had strangely slammed shut and were locked. The wooden doors were strong, and you couldn't easily break them open. Panic intensified as my aunt screamed from inside the house, her fear evident in her voice. I looked around and saw the doll standing in front of the house. I screamed and asked aloud, "Who are you? And what do you want from me?" She replied, "I want you." didn't understand, because I didn't know her, and certainly hadn't done anything wrong. Suddenly, I had the thought to get the religious statue I had seen in the sand upon our arrival. It felt like something was telling me to bring it to the premises. I asked one of the men in our group to come with me to find the statue. I roughly knew where it was. While we were gone, the spirit began to torment our family members who stayed behind, causing them even more panic. Once we returned with the statue, I placed the children behind me. The doll stood in front of me. Despite my fear, I started singing prayers, and the demon disappeared from sight. My aunt, trapped inside the house, called out to me as the lock suddenly opened. I rushed to her inside the house, not knowing where I found the courage. But as the saying goes, desperate times call for desperate measures, so I just did it. My aunt said, "Come see, a ghost or whatever that thing is keeps calling your name." I didn't understand what it wanted from me, as I mentioned before. One of my cousins followed me inside. "Why did you come with me?" "You should have stayed outside where it's safer," I said, worried about her safety. Once inside, it felt like the walls were closing in on me. The entire environment felt extremely cold, hostile, and threatening, as if something terrible could happen at any moment. I was terrified and didn't want my cousin to get hurt. I said to her, "No matter what happens, don't be afraid and have faith that our God will protect us. Nothing is stronger than him." Suddenly, the feeling that the walls were closing in stopped, and the threatening atmosphere vanished. Everything was calm again. I ran outside and asked the others how they were doing. They looked at me, still in shock from everything that had happened. I saw the doll, now in the form of a woman, walk back into the house. I stayed outside with the others, unsure of what to do next. Suddenly, I noticed the religious statue, Durga, with its arm pointing towards the house. Something that seemed almost impossible. The statue was made of solid material, so it shouldn't be able to move. Yet the arm was fully turned in a specific direction, pointing towards the house, as if instructing me to go back inside. At least, that's the impression I got. I stayed outside with the others, unsure of what to do next. Suddenly, I noticed the religious statue, Durga, with its arm pointing towards the house, something that seemed almost impossible. The statue was made of solid material, so it shouldn't be able to move. Yet the arm was fully turned in a specific direction, pointing towards the house, as if instructing me to go back inside. At least, that's the impression I got. As crazy as it might sound, I decided to go back inside the house. As I entered, the doll began attacking my family members again, but they couldn't see what was tormenting them. I was the only one it didn't attack, and I was also the only one who could see it. The others couldn't see her, but she continued to attack them. It was as if there was something about me that scared the doll, preventing it from harming me. All it could do was frighten me, but it never attacked me. This gave me strength, and I started cursing at it, but it continued attacking my family members. As I mentioned earlier, my family members are devout, often attending church and temple. So I asked them to pray together. We did this, and some began singing holy songs. I felt empowered by this, as if my faith was giving me more strength and confidence. I joined in with a powerful prayer. We sang 3 to 4 holy songs, prayers, and eventually, the woman was nowhere to be seen. I looked around, but she was gone. I don't know if she was hiding, or if she had been banished from the place, but she no longer showed herself to me, and she stopped attacking my family. Peace seemed to return, and we didn't waste a second. We quickly packed our things, loaded the cars, and left the place in the middle of the night. We've never driven so fast towards the city, and believe it or not, just before we left the premises, I saw the religious statue lying where I had last used it. Its arm was back in its normal position. Very strange, but true. As we drove away, I glanced back one last time, feeling a shiver down my spine. In the rearview mirror, I caught a fleeting glimpse of the doll standing at the edge of the forest, its eyes glowing with a malevolent light. My heart pounded as I quickly turned back, but it was gone. The image of those piercing eyes haunted me long after we reached home. Even now, I am plagued by recurring dreams of snakes and eerie entities, as if the doll's curse still lingers. Though we escaped that night, I am left with a lingering fear that the spirit is not yet done with us. And sometimes, late at night, I can still feel those eyes watching me from the shadows,